Hello everyone, I'm Ian from Creative Visuals, and today I'm going to be going over some drone stuff. So basically, recently I traded my DJI Mavic Air for an Autel Evo drone. Some guy in Kijiji, it all went well. No problems with it. The drone I got was actually pretty much brand new, and I'm really happy with it. But I want to go over today, before going over my full review of the Autel Evo, I just wanted to go over some of the reasons as to why I switched and my initial impressions of the drone, as I've always had DJI drones, or just those crappy toy ones that you fly around and your cat catches out of the air and whatnot. So I want to show you guys exactly how I feel just after switching from DJI to an Autel drone. So basically, the reason behind me switching in the first place really had to do with the lack of how much movement there was on the gimbal for the Mavic Air. And it wasn't the actual controllable limit, because I like that extra 30 degrees, which is something I will be talking about in my review of the Autel Evo. But the real problem was the gimbal was it was on such a small drone. The Mavic Air literally fit in your pocket, and I love that about it, but at the same time, it kind of held it back, because if there was any wind at all, or you wanted to take a shot facing any more up, like just did enough to get the sky with your rule of thirds with the horizon, the gimbal is quite often going to tilt down just because there's not enough motion there to not hit the top of the drone. It's kind of hard to explain, but it was really getting to me. Anytime there was wind, say I wanted to get a shot straight down and I flew up to where I wanted to take it, and then you stopped, the whole drone would tilt and the whole camera would go up, and then it would stay there. It wouldn't auto-correct, so it would just be really annoying. And if you're getting footage that, especially for a client, you can't have that happening, and just having the ability to know that my footage isn't just going to be randomly shaky and the gimbal's just going to not be able to go any further just because of how far it can mechanically go. Not having that issue is very helpful, and I'm glad I made the decision. So that was the big reason behind it. Other than that, it was just a bit of the signal. I had a bit of an issue with the Wi-Fi. Yeah, it was good, but at the same time, I had my fair share of return to homes and not seeing it, and with no screen on the controller, your phone sometimes disconnects, and there was just little things. And yes, I know it's not their highest end drone, but for what it was, I really enjoyed it. The quality was amazing, but at the same time, it just didn't quite suit my needs. But I can see it suiting a lot of people's needs, especially with that amazing price tag on it. So with all that out of the way, that's why I switched from the Mavic Air, mostly just the gimbal, how much it can literally tilt in the air and not being able to compensate if there's wind or you stop fast, or trying to go forwards and take a shot. You literally had to go backwards to take a shot of a landscape while using the rule of thirds on the horizon. So with all that out of the way, my first impressions on the Evo are really good, actually. The first time I flew it, I didn't know really what to expect. As like I said, I've had a DJI Mavic Pro, and then I upgraded to the Air just for that 100 megabit per second 4K, and just a few little features like that, and the portability, obviously. But now with that out of the way, I decided I still want to keep the 100 megabits per second. I don't feel the need to go up to a 1-inch sensor, so the Autel Evo it was. And the first time I got it out, I have to say that the experience was pretty good. It was very nimble in the air, and there was little response lag, even though it was such a bigger drone than the Air. It wasn't quite what I was used to, but it felt like the Mavic Pro once again. They kind of looked the same. I gotta say, a lot of people ripped off the Air or the Mavic Pro's design. Sorry. It's a good design, and people just kind of follow with it, and I'm not offended. If it works, it works. But yeah, the feeling in the air was really good. It can go against really strong winds, and that gimbal just doesn't. You can be going like into a headwind, and the gimbal does not tilt down because of it, which is really nice. But like I said, I was going to talk about in my review is the fact that you can't tilt it up 30 degrees, and I have been in contact with Autel about this, so hopefully if more people have this issue and they want to be able to tilt it up for going under bridges or cool things like that, please guys, help us out. If you get it, just so you can use the rule of thirds with the bottom line, that would be nice, and then you can get the horizon on there, get more of the sky if you want, just little things like that. It would be really nice to get it up there. Other than that, the video coming out of it is amazing. I like having the option to use H.265 just because of the double the quality, half the file size. I'm really happy about that. Future-proofing it. 4K at 60 frames per second. it's 4K at 60 frames per second. What can I say? 4K slow motion or just buttery smooth 4K. It's just amazing. I'm really digging that. The colors coming out of it, I must say, are really good. It's not over saturated, it's not over sharpened, and it looks really true to life. Like DJI, I noticed that with my Air, it just kind of blew out skin tones. Like they were just destroyed. I like having the option to shoot logs straight out of the camera, although it isn't the biggest sensor. Having the option there without having to go mess with a whole bunch of stuff is pretty nice. And once again, 4K 60. I just can't get over 4K 60. I'm loving it. I'm literally debating upgrading to the A7000 or whatever comes out next from Sony just because of 4K 60. I'm getting sidetracked. 4K 60 is amazing. But other than that, the battery life is really good. The range I have not had issues with at all. And having that controller with the OLED, that's the word, deep blacks, OLED. So having the OLED screen on the controller is extremely underrated, and I never thought that having an actual color screen on the controller would ever be that helpful. But having it, I don't think I could go back to not having it at this point. It is absolutely amazing. I really enjoy just being able to fly the drone with just the controller. I don't need to get out my phone if it's cold. I don't need to have any cords dangling around. You can change the settings and everything right on the controller. All you need to bring is the drone, a battery, and the controller, and you are good to go. I got some ND filters for it, and with that, I'm pretty much good to go. I've noticed for a 1/2 inch sensor, there's not as much noise I find as the Mavic Air. I'm not sure how that's possible. Maybe it's just how I'm shooting. I'm not sure. Maybe the new ND filters I have. I'm not sure, but I just haven't noticed as much noise because with the Mavic Air, you pretty much had to have ideal conditions to get noiseless footage. But with this one, I've been shooting at sunset, that beautiful golden hour, and it looks good. Now, another thing that I've noticed about the footage coming out of this drone is the fact that that field of view is so wide. It is amazing. It's not quite like GoPro or anything, but it's got a wide field of view, like even wider than the Phantom 4 Pro, which is really good for your video footage. You don't have to get as far back to get everything in the shot, and you can actually digitally zoom in. Yes, it's not optical like the Mavic 2 Zoom, but at the same time, it's still there if you want it, which is really cool. But just having that wide field of view is really, I'm finding it really helpful. Just being able to get everything in the shot. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to go far back. Or sometimes in situations where you're in tight quarters, you can't go far back. So just having that wide field of view that you can crop in on since it's 4K is actually really helpful. And I'm really enjoying that. There's a few things like that about this drone that I just haven't noticed, as well as not having to worry about the no-fly zones and the geofencing that DJI implemented, and just being smart about where you're flying within your legal limits at the legal times. I'm finding that a lot better than just saying, nope, you can't fly here, nope. Being able to take off the drone when I want to take off the drone is nice. So with all that out of the way, those are just my first impressions of the Autel Evo, and I know I've kind of dodged a bullet buying it at this time just because there's no more of these software bugs. I'm pretty sure from what I've seen there's been a lot of firmware updates in the past 6 months, and a lot of things have been fixed. So at this point, I guess there really isn't too much more that they need to fix other than the thing that I was talking about there with the extra 30 degrees tilt and a few other little things, but I'm going to talk about them in my full review coming up very soon. So those are my initial impressions of the Autel Evo. I'm really loving this drone. I never really thought I'd switch from DJI, but now that I've done it, I'm really happy, and I am looking forward to the magical 1-inch sensor model that may be coming out in the future, because I will want to get my hands on that one when it comes out. Bigger is better. Well, that's it for today, guys. I will talk to you in my next video. Oh! One more thing before I go, I do want to show you guys a little hack. If you do have an Autel Evo, I know I kind of put this to the end even though it's in the thumbnail, whatever. If you guys have any type of ND filters, you probably know that when you put the gimbal cover on, they do not fit in there, and that is just a pain having to unscrew them and put the normal UV filter back on. So I did a little hack. It goes kind of like this. You just take off the end and just make it so that there's a cutout there. It looks kind of ghetto, but it works. In my full review, I'll go over actually how I did that, because don't try that at home. You don't want to cut your fingers or anything. I'm not responsible. I'll put a disclaimer here. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I will see you in my full review. See you in the next video. Take care, everyone.